Now to dust off what my memories as Maharashtra Vishnu has unlocked. For his death, my memories as Lucifer and my murder by Earl can best be told through the Epic of Gilgamesh, for the king who was cursing my murderer, the throne room of God, as he shouted that his place would no longer be found in heaven and was to be cast out as the unclean thing that he had become, was the death of the king in that tale's epic story. For after all of it faded into that swirling eternal darkness of death, soon following after me was the king's death. Here is the general legend of Gilgamesh and the battle against Tiamat, that was defeated and cast down into the bottomless pit, sealed away for 1,000 years.
Villain. It's a word used to describe those that break the rules, that take what they want and care nothing for those hurt along the way. Loki, the trickster god, would say villainy is nothing more than a point of view. Some fools are simply too mindless to seize opportunity. Of course, with Loki now on the loose, the implications are dire. The end of times may be at hand. The final battle, Ragnarok, possibly on the horizon, for it was foretold that Loki would break free of his prison and herald the horrific final battle that would leave the gods slain, the heavens sundered, and the world in ashes. None are more eager for that time of chaos than Loki.
The dawn of your ending has arrived, and I am its architect. I have purged countless epochs and all that dwelt within them, and you shall be no different. I bestride this world, the great Unmaker. You will be swept away, and only when creation is rendered pure again shall I rest. But that is not your concern. Your apocalypse is here. Should have left me sleeping. In a different time, I would have crushed you little gods, but I shall let you endure. Now stare out into the world you have damned, and witness all its dismemberment.
Now the epic picks up soon after my death, and begins here as the chosen warrior enters the throne room, only to find that the king had been murdered, but his spirit lingered and gave to Gilgamesh his last command. The king had said that his quest was to hunt down his killer and avenge his death by killing the one who killed him. The king also laid down a curse, that if Gilgamesh failed to carry out his revenge and fall in battle, then a curse would sweep the land and wither every fruit-bearing tree and turn the fertile land into a lifeless sand, so that nothing would ever grow upon it again. To aid his avenging warrior, the king bestowed to him a magical sword, gifted by the council of sages who had been given this sword by a great spirit from the kingdom of the light. The sword of spirits, the Stormbringer blade, Demiurge. Its blade was unbreakable and could cut through stone. Its edge was made sharp by flames that kept its edge sharp every time it was pulled from its sheath, and its wielder was given command over the elements of the earth as well as endowed with a master swordsman. He was to be given a breastplate of armor encrusted with mystical jewels of protection that surrounded the face of a roaring lion, the breastplate of Gilgamesh. If Gilgamesh succeeded in carrying out the king's last command and return, then his reward would be to carry on in the king's stead, as the new king of Megiddo. And so Gilgamesh set out to defeat his nemesis, to cast down that great dragon and toss him into the bottomless pit, sealed for 1,000 years. Little did Gilgamesh know, however, but the king's mystic soothsayer, Mu, had her hand in the death of the king and had laid the seed of Gilgamesh's betrayal, for he never received the breastplate that he was supposed to be given. Mu had instead given it to Golgotos's dark champion, Sudas. The Philosopher's Stone was one of 3 legendary stones crafted by an enigma known as Malak, the necromancer lord who ruled the lands beyond the Great Mountain, which in today's time would have been located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He ruled the kingdom of the dead, which some have documented on maps to have been also called the lands of Mu. He designed the 3 stones of immense power. This character was first discovered on temple impressions that predate the flood catastrophe of the biblical tale told by Noah, as well as early texts surrounding the demon known as Abruxas, in the tales of his role told in the Holy Book of the Great Invisible Spirits that highlights this great conflict, and there is an stonework that was duplicated to represent the actual Philosopher's Stone, said to be made from sapphire. This character, known as the Demiurge, was said to have brought about the deluge floodwaters after a climatic battle in the approximate range of 80,000 to 75,000 year. Tales from multiple cultures, from every corner of the world, have temples and tales from their ancestor that all tell of this similar battle around the same period of time. From the Bible's rebellion in heaven to the Hindu tales of the Mahabharata and the Battle of the 10 Kings to Mesopotamian tales of Marduk's battle against the forces of Tiamat. Also the character of Ishtar cross-references to the Holy Book of Invisible Spirits and the Epic of Gilgamesh as well. Geological surveys and archaeological evidence confirms many of these stories' validities, only that the time estimated in the stories as to when exactly this event happened is the only thing they say is incorrect. However, testing of volcanic eruptions and layers of sediment point towards the estimated date, and that there was more than just one calamity that happened all around the same time as the tales surrounding the Demiurge and his stones of power to be that of the early Younger Dryas period and the eruption of Mount Toba, a supervolcano located in the Indonesian islands that were actually a part of a long-lost continent that stretched from off the coast of southern China all the way down to Antarctica. This continent sank into the Pacific Ocean after the eruption of the supervolcano Mount Toba, which triggered a chain of eruptions from the 9 volcanoes that comprise the ones directly linked to the Ring of Fire. This continent was a vast mountain range that was connected to the Himalayan mountains.
Heimdall, do you really think you can stop me?
That's why I'm here.
Mount Toba and the Ring of Fire volcanoes erupted for 150 days straight, completely collapsing the mountains and submerging the entire continent under water, including the 9 Ring of Fire volcanoes, geologists say. The resulting effects on the global climate covered the world in darkness under an ash cloud for 1,000 years. As legends say, the Demiurge was a sage of the ancient world who came under the influence of a dark power. This dark energy that has been called the Dark One, the Living Shadow, the Shadow Wolf Fenrir, Ihog, Mahakala, and their living embodiment of sin, Satan, took control and enslaved the mind of this sage and used him to forge 3 stones of power, which later became known as the Shinkawa stones in Hindu reference and the Bethel stones in Hebrew reference. The exact name of these stones are not truly important when trying to discuss the validity of their existence, because their effects and the mad surge of religious orders' reactions to these stones are proof enough. So for those out there seeking to disprove these claims, think well. I'm sure there are those out there who have seen the power of these objects at work, though may not have realized it at the time. Many religious orders in the past have fallen due to conflict over these objects with other religions and cultures, all seeking to harness their power. The Philosopher's Stone, which empowered the holder with the secrets of time and space. Also it is said to have granted immortality to the holder. The crescent moon stone, or referenced in Hindu culture as the wishing stone, held the power to grant the dreams and desires of the holder and make them reality, and also held power over the Earth's magnetic field and able to bring about the destructive power of nature. Finally, the celestial angelic stone, or the Peruvian sunstone, that had the ability to allow the holder to traverse across dimensions by altering the life force to that of the 5 different realms of existence. The realm of the spiritual energy, mind, soul, body, and the central source dimension of the life's essence. This physical realm is the realm of the body. The 5th dimension was said to be heaven because the guardian of that realm is the bearer of all life essence. There are tales that say there are more than that. However, the Norse culture states there are 9 realms, and Hebrew biblical references that state there are 9 celestial heavens, by which is transferred that so above so it is below. Ancient cultures that tell of Lemuria dating back 1.5 million years ago state there are 12 realms, as that each level of chakra was in itself a remnant of that realm, that's presence was still embedded with the universe around us and is a part of our body's composition within each life form that is born. Together with these 3 stones, the demiurge laid waste and quickly conquered almost all the kingdoms of the world at that time, but his conquest ended with a climatic battle of all the kingdoms descending upon him in a revolt in the region off the coastline of India, China, and what is now the Philippines, New Zealand and Indonesia, which was at the time a large mountain range known as Fire Mountain because of the ring of fire volcanic chains that at that time were above sea level, and its borders were separated by this mountain. Atop the mountain it is said that their final battle was fought between the heroic characters portrayed as Vishnu in Hindu tales and Marduk by Babylonian tales against Sudra in Hindu and Anu in Babylonian. At the moment of his death it is said that Sudras unleashed the floodwaters of the deluge and flooded the world. Also, the Nag Hammurabi, in the holy book of the Great Invisible Spirit, found in the correlates this tale as their stones being referred to as the Ogdats. Correlating this tale are geological surveys that state about that time is when Mount Toba, a supervolcano located in Indonesia in our current time, erupted with an approximate date of eruption around 75,000 years ago, which was just one of multiple cataclysmic events that occurred around the same time. Mount Toba triggered a chain of eruptions that lasted about 150 days in total before stopping, covering the world with ash in just 2 days. Also around this time 3 meteors struck the Earth around the coastal area of Africa, India and the Caribbean island, causing catastrophic flooding. Also, to add to this, it is said that there is evidence that at this time the magnetic field became weak and the polar caps may have flipped at that time. Each catastrophe, separated by about 10,000 years apart from each other, these 3 events brought about the end of the age of life on the planet at that time. mankind almost disappeared from the planet into extinction, as there is still a large gap of time between the Neolithic man who lived during that era and the current evolution of man, a gap of about 40,000 years before any human remains were found, and may have taken that long for life to recover from that event.
Reveling in the joys of life, Bastet, daughter of Ra, is the sensual embodiment of her feline form. This cat, however, has the fiercest claws. Cats are creatures that demand worship. They are regal, nonchalant, and insatiable. Though, as much as they languish in the sun and rumble with purrs of pleasure, cats are agile and deadly hunters. Mercilessly, they cull the populations of invasive vermin and stinging scorpions, protecting the home from vile invaders. Perhaps the most troublesome enemy of the cat is the serpent, and there was no greater snake in the world than the horrendous Apep. Circling the world along the horizon line, Apep's scaly girth waited in ambush each morning for Ra to rise and bring light to the world. To fend off this beast, Ra kept the company of his daughter, Bastet. Since time began, as Ra lifted into the eastern sky, Bastet would spit and howl, claws bared against the treacherous Apep. Countless battles were fought, countless mornings faced uncertainty, until, at last, Bastet tore the foul serpent apart. With her greatest enemy gone, Bastet is free to prowl as she pleases. Now, she is the guardian of home and hearth, idle to women, especially those desiring children and exploring their sensuality, and patron of arts, wine, and any occasion of revelry. Like any cat, though, Bastet can still pounce without warning, shredding her enemies once her claws come out.
This realm can be saved. Remade. Image. King Gilgamesh, you seek immortality. But you found only death!
On a side note, I see now that my magic is being monitored and corrupted. It is the source behind my ramblings. Whenever I cast any spells upon myself, someone is taking the mystical aura that surrounds me and using it to pump whatever words they want me to say. Another culture seeking to control and regulate the flow of magic once again.
Through time and space, the magic unfolded revealed to me who seeks to control the magic and suppress the magic entity's natural flow.